I've been sick with the flu for most of January, so you can imagine that my 2025 not off to the best start. And let me tell you, this round with the flu has been a doozy. It's been one of the most miserable experiences ever for me. And it's not like I get sick all the time. I actually very rarely get sick, but this time it's just been awful. And not for the reasons that you might think. So yes, I had fever. Yes, I puked and I had the body aches and all that. But the part that's just been so awful, worse than any other time before, has been the coughing. The coughing made it so that I couldn't sleep. And I think I went 4 or 5 nights in a row with only 1 or 2 hours of sleep. Felt kind of deranged. It was really not cool. I was so desperate that I tried a bunch of stuff, like more stuff than I've ever tried, to the point where you can see that my house is starting to look like a freaking pharmacy. But anyway, I tried some stuff out. Some of it worked, a lot of it didn't. So if you're sick right now, or if you get sick soon, maybe this will be useful for you. So let's get into it. So first we have Chloraseptic, which is my childhood favorite. Honestly, like it's fine. It works okay. But I actually prefer this, which for me, I don't remember ever seeing this when I was a kid. And, maybe because I wasn't the one out shopping for me when I was sick. But Mucinex also has a sore throat lozenge, and I personally prefer this. And that's because Chloraseptic lozenges come with menthol. So the active ingredient is benzocaine, which is the thing that helps numb your throat so it doesn't feel like it's on fire. But it also comes with menthol, which is, if you've ever had any cough drop in your life, it's that cooling effect, I'm not a fan of that at all. I hate that. Mucinex is great because it doesn't have menthol in it. It only has the throat numbing agent, which is a different ingredient than the one in Chloraseptic, and is actually stronger. I'm pretty sure it's stronger. This one, for me, this is the winner. My husband, he felt like this was too strong and he actually preferred the Chloraseptic. So he took this and I took this. Now, the other thing that I'll mention is that this has actually been helpful for the coughing. And that's because when it numbs your throat, all the little things that might irritate your throat and then set off that cough reflex, your throat isn't as likely to react while you have one of these going. Okay, so just something to keep in mind. And I discovered this inadvertently on, I think, night 3. It was a particularly bad night and I was already exhausted. And I was like, let me put in one of these. I freaking hate normal cough drops, but I took one of these. And as soon as my throat started to feel numb, the coughing started to relax. And then I was finally able to get some sleep. So next up, we've got your typical cold and flu remedies, your over-the-counter stuff. Well, one prescription level syrup, which I'll also get into. So over here, we've got coldies. We've got the Kirkland Signature from Costco. They're daytime and nighttime caplets. And then we have your all-time favorite Vicks NyQuil, cough syrup. And it's been really interesting because my husband and I, we are in agreement that the coldies pretty much did nothing. But what's really interesting is that the prescription strength syrup that was prescribed to me by a doctor, right, it has codeine in it and has the expectorant, the guaifenesin. This also didn't really seem to do much, which I found surprising. And maybe that's due to the strength in the dose, but yeah, so it says 100 milligrams of guaifenesin. You actually get more than that in the over-the-counter stuff, so maybe that's why. Kirkland Signature brand and also the Vicks NyQuil, these two are the ones that my husband felt were the most useful for him. They actually helped him relax and get some sleep. For me, not so much. It was unfortunate. Like, none of these actually did anything for me. I tried nights taking it, tried nights not taking it. It was about the same. So personally, I'm not a fan of taking any medication if I don't have to, especially if it's not actually doing something. So kind of ended up not doing much. What I have noticed is that taking this after I started to get a little bit better seemed to help, but not when you're in the thick of it, which is when you actually need it to help. So, take that with a grain of salt. Maybe it's just me. Next up, we've got your favorite Neti pot. If you've never done Neti pot, it's the saline rinse for your nose. And what you do is you put in distilled or boiled water. Never, ever use tap water, okay? This is how I read some horrific story of a woman who had been doing neti pot, but with just plain tap water, not boiled, nothing. And she died of a freaking flesh-eating bacteria in her brain or something. Yeah, not the way I want to go, okay? So what you want to do is use distilled water or boil your water and let it cool down a bit. And then mix in one of these little packets of saline. It's a special mix so that it's perfectly calibrated where when you put it in, it will feel natural, like it won't hurt, it won't burn. So what happens is if you just use plain water, like, you know, as long as it's clean, it's going to burn like hell and you won't like that at all. So put in the saline mix from one of these and it'll rinse through, and you want to do it on both sides, right? So from the right nostril and then the left nostril, and it'll help you flush out a bunch of congestion. Now, this will not work if you're super duper congested, as in, you know, when you're so blocked, like you can't even breathe. It's not going to work. I tried it when I was partially blocked, and what I found was that the neti pot worked on one side, but did not work the other side. Okay. So what is this good for? Well, it's supposed to help you flush out like irritants and mucus out of your sinuses, which can help with the breathing. But then what I found was, yes, it did help me blow out like a ton of stuff. It felt good to get the gunk out. But then what I noticed, unfortunately, is that because I did it right before I went to bed, it's like my sinuses kicked into overdrive and they started to produce even more mucus. And so when I was trying to go to sleep, it felt like I was constantly fighting the postnasal drip, which is already bad when you have a cold, but that particular night, it was overwhelming. Like I felt like I was drowning. And the next morning when I got up and looked it up online, I did read that when you strip away all of your mucus, your body is like, oh my God, I need my insulation, I need my first barrier of defense. And so then it will try to replace that, all the stuff you just, you know, washed away. So again, it feels good short term, but I think that if you were to do this, you might want to do it in the daytime and not right before bed. Otherwise, you may experience what I did. So not super pleasant. So next up, we've got zinc. And I wish I'd remembered this sooner, because as soon as you start to feel like you're getting sick, you should take zinc, because it's supposed to help you either ward it off or significantly reduce the duration of the cold or flu itself, okay? And it's interesting because the first night that I did take this was the first night I also was able to get a couple of hours of sleep. I would keep zinc on hand just all the time, and when you're sick, make sure that you're taking it every day, just to help you out. You know, give your immune system a little boost and make sure that it has some help beating up the bad guys. Other than that, I encountered certain challenges with being sick this time around that I've never had to deal with before. So as someone with ADHD and a lot of sensory issues, let's say sensitivities to sounds and sensation, this particular experience with the flu has brought all of those to the forefront in a way that I've never experienced before. Like, it was extremely unpleasant this time around. And what I mean by that is that even the sound of my husband coughing would make my ears ring. The TV was too bright, it was too loud. There were days where I couldn't stand being in our normal bedroom, so I would have to go to the guest bedroom because it was on the other side of the house, because everything was just too bright. So a lot of the signs I know sound like a classic migraine type of thing. So yes, but then it's compounded by the fact that you're dealing with a fever, your body hurts, and you may or may not be nauseous like I was. So it was so not fun. And I'm also prone to getting ear infections. So every time I feel my ears ringing, that's also concerning for me, because then I'm worried I'm going to have a secondary infection as a result of having this. Okay. So, you know, all along I did all the stuff you're supposed to do, which is have a humidifier. I would say that if you're going to have a humidifier, you might not want to do like the type that we have, which is like the all room one, where it kind of humidifies the room as a whole. You might want to get one of the ones where it literally throws off the vapor like into a spot, because I think that would have been a lot more helpful for me. So I've been doing ginger tea with honey, sometimes just hot water with honey, and some of that worked, not so much. Was it better than having a dry throat? Yes, for sure. And of course, you're supposed to have a lot of liquids. So keep that in mind, because if you're too dehydrated, then all of that mucus, that congestion gets thicker, okay? And we don't want that. And if you don't have a humidifier, then I would say maybe think about wearing a mask at night while you're sleeping, because that actually did help me. I spent 2 nights wearing a mask because the coughing was so severe that even just air, like breathing, would set it off. It would irritate my throat. So when you have a mask on, it helps you breathe in warmer, more moist air because it's your own breath, right? And it's in a little enclosed space. So that actually did help quite a bit. Now, the other thing that you might want to look into is controlled coughing. And so instead of just coughing all over the place, you know what I mean? Where if you're like me and you can feel like that rattly sensation, like it's sort of loose, vibrating, like that hanging sensation of congestion in your throat, but you're coughing and it won't come out. So look up controlled coughing. But the one super game changer for coughing for me this time around has been learning to use percussive force. And in normal people speak, that just means like hitting your chest a couple of times and then bending over while you're doing it. This will help dislodge the mucus, the congestion, so that it will actually come up when you cough. So you're not coughing as much trying to get it up. So keep that in mind, because that has been immensely helpful ever since I read about that. Other than that, I think that's about it. I've been eating a lot of chicken soup. I don't know if it's just all in my head, but I do seem to feel better when I have chicken soup. And the fresher, the better. Have soups, warm liquids, honey to help soothe your throat if you need it, or take something like the Mucinex, and then make sure you get rest. That doesn't mean you have to be lying in bed all day. I definitely didn't. I found that sitting up actually helped me sleep better. So that's the other thing you may want to do. I bought like a set of special orthopedic pillows that help you sleep while sitting up, and I can drop a photo of that in the comments. But yeah, that's how I've been getting through the last 2.5 to 3 weeks. So hope this helps. Let me know. And if you get sick, I will be crossing my fingers for you and praying for your recovery. Thanks so much. Oh, and I forgot to mention that if you're sick and if you're prone to experiencing nausea like I am, do not under any circumstances heat up something that's oily or fried, okay? I promise you, it is such a bad idea. I was going through my freezer and I was like, excuse me. So I was going through my freezer because I was like, what am I going to eat today? And we had this wonky box of tempura shrimp from Costco. And the box is like too long to just put into the freezer, like, straight up. So it's sitting like at an angle, crooked, and it's just been bothering me. So I was like, you know what? We should eat this and get rid of the box, right? Such a bad idea. Such a freaking bad idea, okay? Because how you heat it up is in the toaster oven or in the oven. I mean, you can microwave it, but then it's gross. So put it into the toaster oven. And I am not lying when I tell you, like 3 minutes into it starting to heat up, because it's also a convection oven, the smell of the tempura shrimp heating up, like that oily, fried, greasy smell, just pushed me over the edge. That was what actually set off my second round of puking. I was just like, oh my God. And my husband was like, dude, you're so extra. So I'm like, I am not extra. I am not the problem. So I go Google this, and what do I find? Apparently it's actually very common. When you're sick, you really want to stay away from the fried and greasy foods because it can kick off this round of nausea. So word to the wise here, if you tend to be nauseous, don't do it. Don't do it. It's just, no. It ain't pretty. All right. Take care. I hope you stay well. But if you do end up getting sick, take care of yourself. See you next time.